Dusty Slay is on, Dana. And Dusty, our SNL crowd might not be familiar with him, but very funny comic that I've seen and worked with and thought we'd expose him to just a bigger crowd. Super cool Southern gentleman.
Dusty Slay has a new special on Netflix called Working Man.
Yeah.
He's very sly and clever. He's low key. He doesn't even feel like he's performing at all.
Yeah.
It's like he just kind of shows up. Great writer, really funny, sweet guy. It was an interesting
interesting chat. Little Mitch Hedberg in there. There's a lot of, like, he's got his influences and he's got long hair, wears a trucker hat a lot. You know, any of these Southern comics or whatever they're described as, Theo, there's a lot of them. There's a lot coming in that are great, a whole new wave, and he cracks me up. He's got some good, clever stuff, and he's funny to chat with.
Yeah, the thing I came away with, Jesus is a really nice, earnest guy.
Yeah.
That really doesn't feel show busy at all. Humble and funny. Yeah. I hope you enjoy it.
The opposite of me. I'm super show busy.
Cocky and only marginally
gross. You know him, David Spade. All right, here's Dusty. No, I do think you have a crazy crew. You've got Brian Breakfast Bates. Where does that nickname come from? Do you call him Breakfast?
Well, I think Breakfast is one of my favorites of his nicknames, but people call him every B word that they can think of becomes his nickname.
Oh, okay. Bastard, bitch.
Well, you know, it's a clean podcast, so they keep it clean.
Yeah. Knucklehead spelled with a B.
Yeah, I mean, if they could get away with bastard or bitch on there, it would be there.
I love it.
Dusty Slay, Dana, for our listeners, is a very funny comedian. He is from Charleston, South Carolina. I saw him do a really funny set on Jimmy Fallon.
Crushed on Fallon. Crushed on Netflix.
Really crushed.
He has Ted Sarandos' home number.
Oh, yeah. Ted Sarandos is your buddy, right?
Who is my buddy?
The president of Netflix. We're just kidding.
Oh, yeah. We're best friends. I mean, I'll be his friend. I mean, he's been hooking me up. But not to offend my own hometown. I lived in Charleston, South Carolina for 10 years, but I'm from a town called Opelika, Alabama. Just in case, you know, they're tuning in, I want them to know I've not forgotten about them.
Do they have Wi-Fi?
Yeah, you know, in some parts. You know, my dad actually lives outside of Opelika, and he was getting internet on an antenna for a long time.
Whoa, we had an antenna on top of the house that you'd have to go up, and they would turn it. My brother would turn it, and then you'd yell, "Okay, it looks good. We're going."
What city? Back. Missoula.
Missoula, and then, you know, the Bay Area Peninsula, San Carlos, near San Francisco.
Dana was early in Missoula, Montana, and then San Fran area.
I was, my wife was just up in Montana visiting relatives, so we've got some kind of countrified vibe.
I love Montana. I'm a big fan of Montana.
Yeah, Western Montana in the summer, it's kind of like, okay, why would anyone ever be anywhere else?
Yeah, I did. I did a few cities. I don't know what side of Montana it was, but it was so great. But yeah, it's the winter that gets you.
The 70 below, it gets your attention.
Sounds good at first, and then
it's almost as big as California, and it's got like 700,000 people. I mean, it's that because of the winter. They can't get people in there.
The winter's brutal. Yeah.
Where is your accent right now within the Southern continuum? Is it a little combo of Alabama and North Carolina? Or?
I don't know what's happening. My wife is Canadian.
So is my wife.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, there you go. I grew up in Alabama.
Canada churns them out.
Alabama, mostly, right?
And my brother-in-law was from Michigan. He started dating my sister. My sister's 11 years older than me. So he came into my life very young. My accent started to get mixed up. Then I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, where all my friends were like from Ohio. And then I moved back to Nashville and I got a little Southern again. But it's a real mixed up accent.
You know, when did you add the nasal?
I think that's always been there. I think I got kneed in the throat one time when I was on the wrestling team. And I was talking raspy after that, and I kind of think it stuck.
It's kind of good. It's very unique. It's at least, you need things to stand out.
I
Yeah.
always wondered, like when I was in high school and I ran track and cross country, and then you go in the gym and you see the dudes wrestling. It never had any appeal for me. I would have been in the 90-pound weight class. I don't know if is there something lighter than flyweight as a freshman anyway?
Well, I think the light weight class is where you want to be. If you're real ripped.
Right.
My problem was I was in a fairly light weight class, but the guy that I had to wrestle against was just shredded. Like there was no reason we were supposed to weigh the same.
I didn't join because were you allowed to wrestle if you weren't gay? This is a real question. No, I'm kidding. Dana, I was in weightlifting, and we'll delete that. When I was in weightlifting, why was I in weightlifting? We don't know. I weighed 114, but it was an elective. And when I was a sophomore, I could bench 185, Dana, when I was 114.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Let's keep it truthy here.
I think
he's got the clean podcast. We have the sometimes fibbing.
No, but I'm going to weigh in with Dusty. Do you think a 114-pound high school could honestly bench 180 pounds?
I mean, I think that'd be tough. I don't really know the translation. I don't know how it works out. That seems like a lot.
You're like, it sounds like more than your body weight. Well,
Uber driver in Arizona, I think, who said he took weightlifting with you.
For real?
Oh,
yeah.
That's very true. And it checks out because I wasn't any good. I didn't really lift the weights per se. I think that was just like a suggestion. But we were in a weightlifting room the whole day. And I'm like, do we actually get around to it, or do I just lay down and take a supervised nap?
Let me do adolescent rite of passage. Mm-hmm. What's the most push-ups you've ever done in your life? Honest push-ups.
Well, I mean, I went through a little workout phase. I mean, I would say I maybe did 40. At one point, I was really lifting it. I was getting wild. I got beat up one time as a drinker, and then I really hit the weights after that.
It's funny, but you're still drunk, which makes it harder to fight. That's you know what I mean? That's the bummer.
But you don't feel the punches.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I did get punched a lot, and I took it pretty well because I was pretty drunk.
Yeah. My brother came home. I had 3 older brothers. He had 10 Heinekens. He was like 18. He'd never drank in his life. And he had pink popcorn at the fair and threw all up over my dad's car. So then he came in and he was so drunk. My dad was he was sitting on the bed and he was doing left, right. I thought I was witnessing something real horrible, but my dad broke his hand on his head the first punch.
Wait, they were fighting right when he came in?
No, Mark was just drunk. So he was just sitting on the bed in a stupor with a smile on his face. My dad was just unloading on him, who weighed about 180, but he broke his hand. And then we had to tell everybody for weeks that he bumped it on the coffee table.
Wow, that seems like a very tragic story that you just told.
Yeah, that got very tragic, very light, tragic story.
The Carveys, we were just like the sons of Katie Elder. We were, hard driving, just,
fighting Carveys.
It was the 60s. How was your childhood? I mean, was it violent like that? Or was it?
I mean, I grew up in a trailer park, and it was like, there was every reason that it should have been violent, but it was pretty chill. I mean, people were drinking around me, but they were having a good time.
You're our first trailer park guest. That's fascinating.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, thanks for having me. I guess that you've excluded trailer park people up until this point. So I'm happy to break the barrier.
Well, the cliche of trailer park is the word trailer park trash. I didn't invent it. It's become kind of a meme. So what was your experience? Like nice neighbors, kind of fun. You didn't feel you were poor. It was just cool. I mean, I assume.
Yeah.
All of the above? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
all right. I answered the question.
Yeah. I mean, that is it. I mean, I thought you were reading my bio.
That's what I assume. That cliches are often not true.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely the cliched people in my trailer park. But yeah, I mean, we had our trailer was a little messy. My mom dated some married men. I have sisters not related to each other, but we were all having a good time,
Well, wait a minute. So that became which I love your, I don't know, reoccurring phrase. I don't want to call it a catchphrase. We're having a good
mantra.
time.
Yeah.
So people,
I like a mantra.
Just a quick plug in the middle of the interview. We're having a good time. Dusty Slade, Netflix, sitting there. Really great stand-up special. Written tight, funny. And you come off, I think you're maybe the most like casual guy coming out there. I mean, there's no pretense. I mean, it's like you're just hanging out. It's I come out like a dancing monkey trying to get a laugh, and you come out so chill. It's very relaxing to watch. And then it gets just funnier and funnier.
Well, yeah, I started doing comedy. I started doing improv first, and I was never very good at playing a character. And everybody would come out. I was doing improv with very good improvisers, but they would all come out and they would be doing a thing and they would be real silly. And I always had a hard time doing that. I don't know. I feel like that it's like, I don't know. I don't want to take myself so serious that I'm just coming out I just want to tell you these things and I hope you laugh at them, sort of thing.
Yeah. Improv is terrifying. I like in his bio, Dana, it says, Slay moved to Charleston, South Carolina and joined the hot improv comedy scene of South Carolina. Is that a big comedy?
Is that in my bio?
Improv. Yeah. It's funny. I was in Charleston 2 days ago, dude. How about that? I've never been there.
It's also in your bio that you hate wearing hats.
Oh, okay.
It's in your bio.
People just write bios. I don't know how they end up.
It's all made up.
Yeah.
I should be a bio writer. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm always looking for a bio writer, but because a bio gets written and then it just is out there. And then
bio is the funniest word.
And then I go and I do a corporate event and people are reading the bio and I'm like, oh, don't read that. Just bring me out.
They introduce you. This next guy grew up in a trailer park in Opelika, Alabama.
Right. I'm like,
after high school, he enlisted in the Army, but did not attend boot camp due to legal issues. What the fuck is that?
Is that in my bio? I mean,
that's your introduction.
Yes.
Well, I joined the Army, and in between joining and getting shipped off, I got arrested for weed and alcohol, so I couldn't go because my court date came after my ship off date.
Oh, I thought it was spinal bifida.
No, that's the legal issue. I don't know why they listed it as a legal issue, like I didn't pay my taxes. We got
a real Trump on our
alcohol
hands.
was legal, but weed was illegal, I assume, at that point.
Yeah. I mean, well, I got arrested for underage consumption. I was 19 and I had an open bottle in my car, and the policeman, he put me in the car, and then he comes back and he said, you're under arrest for the underage consumption of alcohol. And then he goes back to my car, finds the weed. And as he's putting my buddy in the car, he goes, oh, by the way, you're also under arrest for possession of marijuana. And I'm basically like, I'm trying to join the Army and clean up my life, right? Yeah. So you're going to arrest me, and now I'm going to live in a trailer for the next 2 years doing worse drugs.
Who was your lawyer, Kid Rock?
I don't know if this is my brother. My brother drove through the South with a friend. And he had a guy pull him over, and he has a pretty good ear. And it was like, I'd like you boys to step outside of the car right now. And it was kind of scary because movies that are, again, sort of stereotypical of the Southern sheriff is a little, you don't want to hear that in that accent.
Yeah. Well, I was living in Alabama and I didn't want to hear it in that accent. I didn't want to hear it in any accent, though, to be honest with you.
And that really must have bummed you out because you honestly were trying to clean up your life and go in the Army, right?
Yeah, I had gone, I was working at Western Sizzlin' and I was getting high all the time. And this guy was telling me about how
Western Sizzlin'?
Yeah.
What is that?
Is that a restaurant?
Yeah, it's a steakhouse. It just closed. The one in Opelika just closed this past Saturday. It's a very sad day.
Did they say, does the slave work there with a plaque or anything?
They did not. I made a joke about him on my Netflix special and about people sweating into the green beans. And I don't think
that wasn't the promo they were looking for. They closed a week later.
Now, were you a waiter or a busboy or dishwasher? Or
I was a waiter. I was the only waiter. It was all 50-year-old women, and I was an 18-year-old boy working there.
Mm-hmm.
I am Dusty. I'd like to check out our specials. We have catfish and carp.
Yeah, and then I would get a quarter for a tip, and so when the guy was like, joining the Army was great, I got to see a lot of the world. I was like, oh yeah, I'm into that. So I went to the recruiter's office right after work and joined.
Meanwhile, you're a dishwasher in the Army.
You got the idea, and right after work, took off your apron like Norma Ray.
Yeah.
And went to a recruiter's place.
Yeah. And they were like happy to see me walk in. They were like, this is what I'm talking about. And then, and then they helped me, they talked to me about getting off weed and, this and that. And I start running. I start learning the military alphabet. I mean, I am all in.
A, B, C. What's the military alphabet again?
Like alpha, beta, or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Call signs.
Charlie, something like that.
That's right. Charlie one.
Yeah.
Good to kill.
I didn't learn it. I started.
Yeah. Alpha, rabbit, hamster.
Did you actually sign up, or you're just sort of getting ready to be going to boot camp?
Yeah, well, I signed up, and we went and did the physical and everything, where they go and examine your body.
Doctor shrugs his shoulders and goes, "He'll do."
Yeah, exactly. They they can do weird things, and they touch you and they look at your butthole and stuff like that, and then
okay, what's the bad part?
Well,
sorry,
are we back to the policeman, or was that still at the doctor?
Well, none of it was bad except for they tell you. They're like, you can't tell them you ever smoked weed or did any other drugs, or you won't be able to get in. And so it's like the government teaching you to lie to the government to work for the government, sort of thing.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know why we're doing this. Let's just be honest about it, But my recruiter, when I get home, my recruiter goes, all right, I know I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I know you like
your agent.
Yeah, yes, exactly. He's like, I know you like to smoke weed, and they're going to drug test you when you get shipped off in 30 days. So if you want to do it tonight. And then that night I got arrested for weed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
It worked out. I would have been shipped off in August of 2001. So I would have been in boot camp when September 11th happened.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just a more particular time
Dusty,
in the military.
You're going to Afghanistan tomorrow.
I know. So it really worked out. I mean, I was hoping to go to like, I don't know, Amsterdam and Thailand and places like that. And instead I was like, yeah, I'd be fighting.
You really would have been fighting. I know people.
Did you think there's some scenario where you'd be fighting, or was that the whole idea?
No, it's like, that it seems weird to even think about, but during that time, there was like a real moment of peace, at least what we were being told.
You could have maybe scammed through
pre-9/11, 1990s, pre-9/11.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just going to get some free college here, see a little bit of the world, and I'm going to get right out of here. It's just going to be a good time for me.
Yeah.
You're like, they go, oh my God, Dusty, the Twin Towers blew up, and then planes hit them right after. Conspiracy.
But sign right here. Turn the TV off. Just turn the TV off. The towers are going down.
Sign. Go.
Mr. Slay.
Yeah, and instead I was like sleeping on a couch in my room, and my sister called me and she goes, hey, planes just hit the Twin Towers. And I was like, what's that? And I had no idea. I had no idea anything.
She's like, you didn't know what she meant because she goes, Dusty, 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And you go, what does that mean?
I go, is that what time it is? Yeah. I mean, I'm like,
she's like, well, this will be called 9/11, but today's 9/11.
Yeah, she was in on it.
Now let's get back to the fact that you're friends with Kid Rock because you're from wherever, Nashville.
I have met Kid Rock a couple of times.
You have to.
So you're very close friends, right?
Yeah, best friends. He loans me
Kid
money.
Rock is funny because he's sort of the mayor of Nashville. He runs around, and when I play Zanies, I don't know many people. I actually invited Carrie Underwood once. She was nice enough to come down. She, I don't really know her that well. She's super sweet. Came down to goddamn Zanies. They were flipping out over her, of course. Kid Rock, that goddamn goat roper, came down, and then we went to his place. But he's one of those guys that he has such a horrible rap right now, but I always liked the guy. He did me a huge favor. He came blindly into the Joe Dirt to do it. He just said
and that's the best movie role he's ever had. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it when I was in Charleston. I'm not even lying. I haven't seen it in 10 years. It was on, and so I was just watching it, going, oh, I don't remember this, and Christopher Walken was sounding so Christopher Walken, Dana. It was so funny how crazy he did his lines. Loved him. But I saw Kid Rock and I was like, God, he is good in this. And people are like, you should never talk to him again. And I go, well, you can't start with someone like have a good beginning of a friendship, and then the way he thinks now and talks. I just think we're always.
What is the problem with?
But you know what it is.
People
they go,
having
don't get a
different
picture with
opinions.
him.
I don't.
Like,
I'm
know.
not aware of it. I'm just like, maybe he has a different point of view on America.
Right.
But
Well, Robbie is a great character. He goes, "Did I get you dirt?" He goes, "No, I'm cool." He goes, "No, you're not." I mean, that's like the best line ever. I mean, it's like
he sprays me with rocks, I think twice or three times with his Trans Am. And so, that Trans Am had 87 miles on it. For some reason, they got us the best, newest Trans Am. And movie cars are a big deal. They just sold the main Joe Dirt car a month ago in an auction, and I should have bought it, but it's too much, $300,000 or something. But
but it's these movies, these comedies from the 90s, they just get shinier and brighter as time goes on. Because then you look at Joe Dirt on TV and you go, this is just really funny and so silly, and I'm very happy watching it.
Right. He pulled up in this thing to yell at me and Christopher Walken at the end of the movie, and he climbs up out of the sunroof to yell at us. And the stupid story, Dana, that we have this car that's like immaculate for some reason. Instead of just an old Trans Am we rode in, they brought us a great one. I'm like, we don't need a great one. And then, of course, he ripped the fucking seat fabric with his shoe while he's climbing up. And then they had a conniption fit. No, Kid Rock.
Oh, Kid Rock.
So they're like, oh, you damaged this perfect car. I'm like, oh my God. That was a big story that day. Of course, now who cares? But then, because I tried to buy that car too. We tried to get "Hi, my name is" from Eminem for the trailer, and Kid Rock was his buddy, and we couldn't get it for the price. But Eminem did come to the premiere, which I loved because I love Eminem. But overall, we're back to Kid Rock. Kid Rock did a great job. He's fun. Every time I go to Nashville, I see him. I see him sometimes in LA. But yeah, there is that thing where people go, "Don't get a picture with him." I go, "Just relax. I'll get a picture with whoever."
I did the Kid Rock Comedy Jam at the Ryman. It was great. Last year I did it, not this year. I didn't get invited back, but I had a hot set. But no, it was good. It was great. And I saw him at Zany's. And I mean,
he likes to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. If I were still drinking, I mean, it'd be a blast. I mean, I would have never made it to where I'm at in comedy if I had kept drinking. But if I were still drinking, I mean, I'd be all about a Kid Rock party. I think.
Could I ask you, because I'm always curious about, well, at your peak, how much were you consuming and of what type of alcohol?
Well, the thing for me, for some reason, this was always in my mind, and I don't know why, but I always wanted to take a sober day. Each week, I was like, I got to have one sober day. And I think that really,
I'm not really a drunk.
Yeah, I think so. And I think in the end, that helped me, right? Because I got buddies that would stop and they go through all these weird alcohol withdrawals and have hallucinations. It didn't really happen to me. I was mainly drinking like Bud Light, or I liked a Coors Heavy. That was my favorites. But I also would get into
Coors
bourbon, like the banquet beer. That's what I always called it, was the Coors Heavy.
Right. Yeah,
I like
pretty light. Yeah.
Bourbon. There was a bar in Charleston. It was on James Island called the Oasis. And it was this real trashy bar where you could smoke cigarettes inside. And they would do buy one, get two free bourbons. So we would go there and just get a triple bourbon with a little taste of Coke in there. And that's what we would drink. And, smoke Black and Milds and stuff, and just really just destroy ourselves. And, but it was a good time. It was in my 20s, and then I quit at 29. So, I'm able to look back and joke about it.
You look good. What are you, 55?
Yeah, 62. And
you look great. What are you, 70?
62 today, according to your bio.
So you look back. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You look back. I'm glad you did it.
You look back, and now, the thing is that drinking, when human beings eat a quart of ice cream or drink every human consumption thing is kind of funny. I mean, there's a point, if there's a DUI or a tragedy, it's a tragedy, but it's funny just a human being drinking so much alcohol they're throwing up. Did you get hangovers much, or were you just someone who didn't get hangovers?
Oh, I got all of the things. I would get hangovers. I would black out sometimes.
Yeah.
I would throw up some, because people say you either throw up or you black out, and I would do a little of both. I mean, I would
mix it up.
Yeah, I've been known to have brunch, go have some, champagne and orange juice, and then as we switch from brunch to kind of happy hour time, you move on to a bourbon, and then they don't really mix, and then you go throw up, and you come back and you go, all right, I'm good now.
I don't like that comeback guy. Once you throw up, just tap out. But nope, it ain't over.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do it a lot. Usually, throw up would I would be out. But sometimes
put a damper on the afternoon.
Yeah, you just you clean up and you come back in.
I always tell people, if they ask me, like, there's nothing more dangerous than an insecure man after midnight with alcohol in his system. So, did you ever have to fight?
Well, I would say I was that guy. I was that insecure.
So you were throwing punches.
Yeah, I mean, I would get into fights, but mainly it was all verbal stuff. I've always been very good at talking trash, like at least as a drinker. But I'm like
nothing to back it up.
Do you remember one of your lines?
Well, I say good, but I mean, I was just good at like getting to the really getting to someone in a way to where they're like. They didn't want to do anything. They were like, I don't know if this guy can fight or not, but I would rather
tapped
not.
out.
Yeah, you never know. That's the thing, isn't it? You gamble that they don't want to fight. You just want to sound cool in front of the ladies at 2 a.m.
Right. But, I only got beat up one time. So I feel like for all the times I trash talked, that was pretty good. I mean, I always had a lot of buddies that were pretty good fighters, or at least seemed like it. And they liked me. They liked to get wild. Yeah. And so they kind of wanted a reason to fight. And I was like that guy. It never really came to that.
I last had a fist fight in 7th grade. Okay. And that was like a, big thing, scary. But I wonder, as an adult, when you're in a bar fight, the moment where you realize in your own mind, I'm getting beaten up right now. Like, is it sudden?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm losing.
Sucks.
Yeah.
That must be a terrible feeling.
Yeah, that moment was my face was on the sidewalk and a guy was punching me in the face, and I was like, okay, I'm about done with this, And
that's that when I'm getting beat up like that, I go, hey, what are we even doing here? What are we doing? like once you start losing, you change your tune a little bit.
Yeah, you're like, this is immature, guys.
This is so dumb.
And I got up and I had a good attitude about it. I said, I had this coming, and sure, we tried to find the guy, but I had this coming.
I don't think I'd be a big shake hands guy after. I see people do that. I don't know if I love that.
No, I don't like that either. I'm not that good of a sportsman.
No,
just walk away.
Yeah.
So you're 29. You quit drinking. I don't know what. Tell us. I just want to hear how you became Dusty Slay, the headlining comic. Fighting through that battlefield emotionally.
Well, at 29,
pesticide salesman.
Yeah. Well, I was selling pesticides all this time, and I think that was part of it, right? As I was
so
like,
excellent.
I hated my job during the day.
What? You go door to door? You go door to door and go, ants be gone?
I would go to Lowe's and Home Depot. I was a sales rep.
Oh, gotcha.
So I would go to the manager and be like, hey, good Spectracide display would really look good here by the front door. And then he'd go, nah, we're not going to do that. And then, so when he left, I would tear down the display that was there, and then I would build mine there.
What a dick!
And build it. Oh, you just when he was gone, you just displace it and put your own
all the time.
One?
Yeah.
Your company must have loved you.
You don't sound proud of that.
That's what they want you to do. That's what they wanted you to do. And it was all about the picture. You just had to get the picture of the display. It didn't matter what happened after.
And then send it back into them, and then they'd be like, wow, that's awesome.
And then they put you in the bulletin, and then they go, oh, Dusty Slay's getting some big wins down in Charleston.
Some big W's down at the Piggly Wiggly.
So you got money for the first time in your life, maybe.
Yeah. So I was, so then, and I was also waiting tables downtown, Charleston. So I was like, I was in with the real drinking crew. But I'd started doing improv and stand up, and then at 2011, I won the local comedy competition. So I won $1,000, and I was like, all right, that's what
How
I'm
many
talking
years
about.
of doing it before you won that?
I would say
That's a lot.
three good years into
3
it.
good years of actually working on it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah. And then I quit drinking. And then so by the time the 2012 competition came around, I won it again, but I won by like miles. I mean, I was like, I really tightened up. A year of sobriety really tightened up my comedy.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I'm
If
sure.
anyone listening, that's a really good life lesson right there.
Yeah, it really tightened it up. And then so then the next 2 years, I really worked on comedy in Charleston, and then decided to move to Nashville because I wanted to basically be a road comic.
You know, Nashville's one of the few cities you can do that, Dana, where you can, there's San Fran had a pretty big scene. I don't know if it's still as big, but LA, New York, right?
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
Austin now, and Nashville, I think. But does Nashville have enough clubs?
Well, Nashville, we only have one club really, but we have 2 rooms now. But it wasn't, and I had an inn at Zany's, which was the only club I had an inn at.
Mhm.
But
Great
but it's
club.
also about the cities that are around it. There's all these cities, Birmingham at 3 hours, Lexington, Kentucky, 3 hours,
Oh,
Louisville. So you can drive within 8 hours. There's so many cities with clubs.
Okay.
So I started getting in as a feature, really working the road.
And so you started as a feature, and obviously you're going to headline. How long did that take? And did you have people trying to fuck with you? I mean, the club scene can be pretty brutal, especially when someone's climbing up. There's a lot of, if you hang out with the comics,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of
Gotta
a
hang.
psychological warfare.
It was
That green
always
room.
okay for me because I've always
Mhm.
just been nice to people. I mean, I
good.
made enemies along the way. I mean, people start disliking me for no reason. I don't know why.
Because you're good, probably.
Maybe. And I'm clean too. And when I would book shows, I would want other comics to be clean, and then they would try to act like I'm trying to censor everyone. And I'm like, I don't even need you to be that clean. I just don't need you to say the worst possible things that come to your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
You're always ready for corporate gigs, though, which is nice when you're clean because you don't have to do anything.
Well, that's what I'm all about, is trying to create the kind of set that no matter where I'm at, I can just do it.
Yeah.
I don't have to go, oh, what is this I'm doing? Let me try. If it's too clean, then I'll have to take out weed jokes and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm like, yeah, I just do my jokes.
I think Seinfeld was like that. I think is like that. I think Leno, Dano, also Nate is more
Pretty
presently
much, yeah.
doing great, which is clean, which is just known for being clean, which is not what it used to be. But there's a lot of people that have gotten more R-rated. And
Jeff Foxworthy is clean,
Foxworthy,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that, the Southern comedians, Ron White and Jeff and Larry the Cable Guy, Dan, those guys, those Southern comics were huge. And I'd be playing Minneapolis or something, and who's coming in? And it was Jeff or somebody on a
Or
Gulf
the blue
Stream.
collar, Bill Engvall.
Yeah, they monetize stand-up in a brilliant way with marketing and books, and there's something, that heritage, and now we have Bert and you and others. It's kind of interesting. Do you think about that? I mean, that those Southern comics, and they toured together, and they all got incredibly wealthy, I believe.
Oh yeah. Well, I've worked with most of them, and
Mhm.
and talked to them about it, but I don't know that that sort of thing really would work now. But I especially that branding. That's why I don't try to do the blue collar branding, but I called my special working man. Because my whole idea is to, just, I don't know. I worked,
Man of the people, kind of.
Yeah, I worked for 15, 20 years, just doing regular jobs before I became a comic. So I'm like, I can relate to people on being broke and working a job that you hate. So that's what I'm into. And it's like,
well, you're succeeding immeasurably, because watching your special, which early when we got on the Zoom, Working Man was right above We're Having a Good Time, but that's not the name of the special.
Oh yeah.
It's Working Man. Yeah.
I'm okay with them thinking it's We're Having a Good Time though. If they search it, that's fine.
And also your name's easy to search.
Yes.
Dusty Slay. Is that your real name? Because it's a pretty cool name.
It is my real name. I have a little debate with myself, right? My parents, they named me Dustin, right? And then they wrote down Dustin on the birth certificate, but never called me that. No one's ever called me that. So if my parents call me Dusty, I mean, does it make any difference that they wrote down Dustin? That's what I
Who cares?
always say.
It's still a subsidiary of Dustin. You're fine.
It happens all the time. You get a name and then someone's named Thomas and then they're Tommy or whatever.
Right.
You know, it's very common.
But why even call him Thomas? You know, I don't know. I guess it's some professionalism that you may want at some point in your life. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know someone who named their baby Ollie. No, Oliver. And I thought the kid's going to just be Ollie. Just know that.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's going to call it, hey, Ollie. And that's just different, you know.
Yeah.
And you know what? The only thing that caught on,
Dustin writes
David.
books.
And David, the only thing that caught on was dipshit. And I thought it would be Dave or Davey, but it kind of went south.
Well,
on me.
it's
you gotta hate when they go that far away, that far removed.
Yeah, I
You're
go,
like,
that's,
well, let's keep
you
it
have
in
one
the
letter
David
you
realm.
started with. You just took the D. It's very lazy nicknaming.
It is a lazy nickname. That's a shame.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. It was low hanging fruit. I mean, that's obvious, David.
Yeah.
You know, it's such an easy transition.
And then when I played tennis, this joke's not over. When I played tennis, I said, I want to be known as the Spade of Ace because, you know, it just writes itself. And then in the paper, they said, Pin Dick wins again. I'm like, oh, why? Now you're throwing everything out the window.
You can't make yourself a cool nickname. You never can.
I know, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Spade was good enough. Just leave it.
Spade of Ace. I mean, that's a
Spade of
cool
Ace. I
name.
like that.
Yeah.
But Dusty Slay, I mean, it is kind of it's definitely could be an outlaw in a Western or something, and it has a
it worked out.
kind of a badass vibe to it.
Yeah, it worked out for me. If I want to switch from comedy and just, you know, be a serial killer or any kind of thing, the name works.
Anything. That's kind of catchy, like the BTK killer is catchy. You know, Dusty Slay, BTK.
Yeah.
Dusty Slay.
You're compared to him a lot, I think.
Yeah. I don't know who BTK is, but
he's a killer, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Serial killer.
I like
think
to
what
make
does it stand for, Dana?
Jokes, but I don't know a lot of them.
Son of Sam. That's what's the most famous Ted Bundy, Son of Sam. These are famous serial killers for 10, Bob. David?
Oh, yeah.
My Siri just pulled up BTK killer because it heard me.
Oh, man.
I think it stands for bound, torture, kill.
Okay.
Yeah, serial
big
killer.
Time
and
killer.
He seems like you. I mean, his positive things about him seem like you. He travels a lot. Maybe
yeah, I mean, you know, all things about serial killers are not bad. It's the killing part that is really the best part.
The very last part. They're fun on dates. They're positive.
They're so quiet. They tend to themselves. They have
Ted
a really
Bundy
nice
was apparently very good looking, charismatic. You know, it's like those are good qualities. It's like just don't kill people.
That's the whole key to life, really. And the name of your next special.
Yeah, don't kill people. Yeah.
How do you manage it? I'm just curious for a sec how you because you got to invent a style. You have to do all these jokes. Like, did you start with a word processor? Are you someone who taped your act? We've talked to Jim Gaffigan and others, and the discipline of it, or even Nikki Glazer for the Tom Brady roast, 2 months of listening and workshopping. Where are you on that? Because Nate they seem similar. Your acts are so tight. How do you do that? Do you record and listen, or is that painful?
Well, for a long time, that's what I was doing. I recorded every set. Now I'm moving into theaters, and I'm having a hard time figuring out how to get a video camera set up for myself every time. But I don't know. I have a pretty good memory, and I like to write a set list, and I like to try to stick to the set list. But like now that I am in theaters, I'm like, I get to go, I can riff a lot, right? So I'm like, as long as I stick to this, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do my hour that they've paid for. So if I riff for an extra 20 minutes, that's okay. And then that's how I write jokes.
That's scary. Yeah. I mean, you might come up with a winner. That's true. If you're doing well, I just played this weekend. If you're doing well, it's so much easier. I played a theater that had a sound problem and it was echoing.
Oh,
and we're like,
no.
you can't fix this echo. And they're like, no, they don't hear it out there. And I'm like, I don't know. And then
But
you're doing your act. I'm sticking. The point is, I'm sticking directly to what works because I can't fuck around. You know those nights where you're like, I cannot even gamble with this something over here. And then I just saw an article, Dana. They said the sound was a little off at that show. Unfortunately, I was like, oh my God. So it was out in the audience.
Yeah.
Fuck. It's such a disappointment.
Sometimes for me, if I'm doing a bad gig and my good jokes are not going well, it's almost better for me to riff because I'm like, all right, if the good jokes are bombing, then I got nothing else. I got the good jokes, and then I got these things that I've been loosely working on. And at least the ones I've been loosely working on, I don't know how they're supposed to go. So if I get mediocre laughs, I'm like, all right, that feels pretty good because this is a new bit. But if it's a joke I know that crushes. Yeah.
Do you do crowd work ever or no?
I don't. I will mess around with the audience some if because I get a lot of drunk people. I'm sure we all do. But if people are yelling out, I'll try to riff with them a little bit, mainly to try to get them to be quiet. But I don't want to be mean about it. So I did the Troubadour.
I do the same thing.
You did the
Go ahead.
Troubadour?
The Troubadour in LA for the Netflix festival. And that late show was so rowdy. They were all wearing my hats. Half the audience bought my hats and were wearing them in the crowd, but were still yelling at me the whole time. It was so rowdy. I crowd worked so much on that show. I never do that. And I was actually getting mad at some people.
I'm the same way. It's scary. It's hard at crowd work. And if it goes south on you,
they're just yelling. There's no back and forth. So I'm just noticing this. The last guest we had on this podcast, who was, quote, moving into theaters from nightclubs, which is a big deal, was Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're really starting to put him in theaters. So you must feel pretty good right now. I mean, it's very flattering, you know.
I do feel great. I mean, it's like I've already been more successful than I ever thought that I would be. So at this point, anything's just a bonus. I'm like, my manager was like, what do you want to do now? And I'm like, I don't know. I've already achieved all the goals I ever hoped to achieve. So I'm good now. Let's just ride this out.
Yeah, this might be it. Hey, Dana, here's a couple.
28 minutes.
Here's a couple of his jokes that are funny.
Let me hear these.
Okay.
Here we go. Dusty Slay joke.
I'm trying when he goes, I thought of this because I check out of hotels too. He goes, they said he says there's a 7-step process they say to make checking out of your hotel faster. He goes, what's faster than just leaving? He goes, when I check out of a hotel, I just leave. And he goes, I didn't even know you had to do anything. I know my friends who go, hey, we're leaving. So do we go by the front desk, give them our keys and have a little goodbye speech? I go, I think that's over. I think people just
walk
leave,
away.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to let them know. Actually, you tell them when you're going to be leaving when you check in. You know, it's like, just expect that I'll stick to that.
It's really for people who
I'll stick to that.
Isn't it for, I don't know if you're like this. So there are people who want to get the receipt, look at the room service charges, double check. Right. That's the only reason to go to the front.
Oh, true. I used to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chocolate milk. And then he says daylight savings. No, first it starts with when you ask someone the time and they say it's 20 to 4 and you go, listen, if you don't know, just say you don't know.
Yeah.
Why do you say 20 to 4? You can't figure that one out.
Well, why am I asking questions and you're giving me other problems? It's like,
what do you mean?
Know,
say it's 3:40?
20 to 4 is funny. Yeah, that's like what's so specific.
Yeah.
He goes, if you don't know the answer, just say you don't know. And he's like, I was like, no, it's 20 to 4. And he's like, all right,
it's 20 to 4, but I ask you what time it is, not the steps I need to get there.
Yeah, you say there's nowhere else in life you do that.
Yeah, like why are we breaking everything down into problems like that?
Yeah, in 1 minute it'll be 19 minutes until 4 o'clock. I mean, it should be just what's the proper?
In Australia they say, what time is it? You go, it's 30:30 or something, and they go, what does that mean? They go, it's 4:30. And I go, does that mean 4:30? You know, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Just tell me the fucking time.
It's too much. It's easy to just, what time is it? It's 3:20. Oh, okay, great.
Got it. Okay. I don't want to stand
20
here for 10 minutes.
Yeah, they're like
Let's work
20
this out
past the
together.
hour. I'm like, okay, but what is the hour?
What is the hour? Oh, daylight savings. That you don't even know why we do it, of course. And then you go, oh, if it's cold in the winter, oh, you cold? Well, maybe we should just get it darker a little earlier if you're cold.
Yeah, it's like the coldest time of the year. They're like, let's take the sun away from you. How about that?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, I was laughing your whole Fallon set.
I don't
called
even-
Fallon and I said, what do you think of Dusty's sleigh? And he said, who is he? I said he has long hair, and then he thought it was Jennifer Aniston. I was like, no, and then we got cut off. But overall, I think he would think you were very funny on there. He was laughing in the shadows.
Well, they showed the shot over you and onto him.
Yeah.
And he's just convulsing. I mean,
yeah, that's always helps. He's always a good
we have
audience.
a great time. Yeah,
He's a fucking.
we have a
crackpot.
great
you did
time
a great
on
job.
there.
How many times have you been on Jimmy Fallon's show?
4 times.
Mhm.
Oh, really? So you do have at least 24 minutes of material.
At least, yeah. I did Jimmy Kimmel
Okay.
one time too. So we can go ahead and add another 5.
So you're up to 5.
Do you have to go do panel?
No, never. They were like, there was some talk that I might do panel on this last time, but then they
Okay.
said one of the guests went too long, so that they're going to go ahead.
There was
and-
some
you're
loose
backstage.
chatter.
yeah,
Loose
Wow.
chatter.
yeah,
Who was the
maybe.
guest? Dana Carvey.
yeah.
I was out there going, not gonna do it. And I couldn't. I was on a loop. I couldn't stop it. God,
They're trying to unplug him.
I want to. Yeah. So your peers, your friends. I mean, that you come up with this stand up. How are they? How are they doing? Or do you have friends you want to help bring on the road with you that haven't made it yet? And just that thing. Hey, Dusty's kicking it, man.
Well, most of the people that I started doing comedy with in Charleston have quit doing comedy. Like some of them, I got a buddy that moved to New York, a couple that moved to LA, and they're still doing it. But, I have people that live here in Nashville that I do take on the road. But
makes it more fun.
Yeah, I love to take people with me. You never know who you're going to get paired up with, and you're like, and then you got nobody to hang with. And I don't even hang a lot. I just like to do a little comedy and then have a cigar. That's what I like to do. So I need someone that'll smoke about half a cigar so I can smoke mine and then I smoke the rest of theirs and then we go to bed. That's all I want.
Then do you go to the mall in the day when you're on the road or no?
Sometimes if I'm at a club attached to a mall, I might walk around in there, but the mall makes me sad. I just feel bad for people in there. I don't know what they're doing there. And I don't know what it is. I walk around in there and I go, this seems like everybody seems like they hate their lives in the mall. Yeah. And I don't know what
you ruined the mall for me.
I kind of sense a 10-minute chunk on malls being depressing, maybe, Dusty.
Yeah, well, I just feel like it's like, I was in the mall in the 90s, and then it feels like everybody in the mall has been there since the 90s. It just feels like they're trapped.
They never left. It
like
cut to me
game.
still there from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do go. It's sort of the number one time killer on the road on Family Feud. If you're a comic, it's like number one thing you do mindlessly on the road. Go to the mall.
Oh,
you don't buy anything. You just walk in circles and you go, well, we did that.
I think that's the sad thing about it. Yeah, is you're just walking around in there. You don't want to buy anything. Everything
steps.
You're like sarcastic. There's stores in there called It's Sugar, and I'm like, thanks for being honest about it, but I don't need any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll eat sometimes at the food court, and I always regret it. I go, oh,
cramps.
Gosh, yeah, I feel.
There's
disgusting.
one called It's Cramps.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do a lot of activity. I'll see people on tour with Nate or Bert Kreischer, and I see all of the things that they're doing, and I'm like, that's exhausting.
Go-kart racing.
Yeah. I'm like,
they go
how do you
out
have
do
time?
shit.
How do you have time?
It might
to
be
sit
part
in
of
your
the
hotel
show.
room?
I think Bert, after 2 comics, they go-kart race around the auditorium.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you have time to sit in your room and get sad? I mean, I don't know what you do before a show. That's what sad. I need. I need to save all my energy for the show and also be like, get into some mindset of why am I even doing this? Do I like this? And then go out, and then I get to really kind of explode onto the stage.
Yeah. Ray Romano would just go golf 18 holes in Vegas.
Run his show,
with his friends, and I just thought, it's a heat wave, and they're out there, and then just come in. And
I know in Vegas, Dana, he would do the show. We'd get done right before midnight because we both go on.
It's a late show.
Then we do a Q&A. Then he goes, "You going in?" I go, "Yeah, I've never been up this late since New Year's Eve." And then he goes, "Okay, we're gonna go gamble." And I'm like, "And then you're gonna get up and golf, and then you're gonna come do this show." And I think he's older than me. I'm like, this guy's in great shape. He's killing it. That's where I got sad.
I don't know. To me, it just comes down to like, it's like, you like doing that. You like going to gamble. You like going to golf.
I'm jealous.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem fun
I like
to
to
me.
golf, but I don't like to go out all night and feel like shit. But it's just not my thing anymore.
Yeah, it's like I like to be in nature, but I don't, golf to me, it's like kind of nature, but you're on like a real kind of like fertilized up AstroTurf kind of lawn, and all the animals, and and then you what are you doing? You hitting the ball around, I'm just not.
You still don't even know what golf is. You're like, and then what do? You just
the main thing is
stick.
All golfers suck. I mean, basically every single amateur golfer is horrible and looks like a clown, me included. So, and it's painful to swing and miss at a golf ball. But when you do connect and you really hit it, I guess that keeps you coming back another day, or you sink one long putt. But
that's what people say.
Like Rich Nate, he's like, Dana, he gets all in it. We golfed a while back and he was pretty good. He's really good now. And I'm like, yeah, well, Nate, I don't know if everyone takes all their money you have, because you get to go take lessons at NASA or something. And then he's like, I am objectively way better than I was. That's what money does.
Yeah.
Nate and his money.
I mean, for me, I'm like, I want to buy, I just bought a 4-wheeler, I bought a 0-turn lawnmower. That's where when I get some money, I'm like, I'm trying to buy some things to drive around.
Do you have a farm or a big piece of property kind of out in Nashville? Are you out in the country a little bit?
Right outside of Tennessee, I got about 10 acres. But I got some land in it. I got some land in Alabama. That's where my dad has a farm in Alabama. So we got a little land there. So, we can do, so I grew up kind of doing stuff like that, running 4-wheelers and, that sort of thing, swimming in the creek and the pond. And I'm more into the real country stuff.
You're not faking it.
Have you ever heard John Denver's song, "Thank God I'm a Country Boy"?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do you come up to that? Is that
I
your
would
walk
not
on?
come up to that. That's too cheesy to come up to.
Well,
it is a good song.
Jesse Slade.
I'm eating some jerky and yeah.
All right. Before we let you go, let me see. You were on Lights Out. You did a great job with us there.
Yeah, 2 times on Lights Out. I love that show. I had a great time.
I loved it too. I don't know why Dave quit.
Yeah. I don't know why it quit me.
It was a great show.
We had a blast on that
Theo
show.
was on that a lot. You were on that a lot.
Yeah.
Now you're all
you got a good luck with we're having a good time. We love Nate. We're just busting his balls, of course. Nate's on that with you, and you have one with your
I do the We're Having a Good Time podcast with my wife, and then
that's what that is, right? I'm sorry,
Nate Land podcast with.
Yeah, that's why I was
Nate.
Confused. I apologize.
Yes.
Okay,
I listened to the one with you and your wife. Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you.
It's
we
charming.
just get on there. My wife used to do comedy. We did a live podcast taping at the Comedy Store when we were in LA recently. Very fun.
With an audience, it gives it a lot of supercharge to it.
Yeah.
It's fun with the crowd.
So it is fun.
You have a lot of fans that want to dress like you. And do you sell hats? I guess you do merchandise, and
I have a hat. I have his hat.
Yeah. And it looks good. I mean, every time you wear it, I'm sharing it because I'm like, look how good this hat looks.
Oh, and, I got to get another one. I'll get Dana one too.
Yeah. I'll get you both some hats. Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, do that. That
and
black
you
one
have a full head of hair.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you have a full head of hair. And then, because my brother always said, one of my brothers again, he always said, if I go bald, I'll be the guy with the hat. I'm just going to be the guy with the hat. Solve that whole problem.
Hey, you should sell scrunchies.
Yeah, I like to
yeah,
rest the hat out, just kind of rest it on there. You don't really wear it. You just kind of rest it on.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't squeeze your head. It just kind of sits.
I don't. Yeah, that's why my hats look stupid. I always like with these big, stupid trucker hats, but I do like them mostly because I don't like my hair. But you have good hair. You look like kind of Shooter Jennings meets Aniston.
Yeah.
Again.
I feel like I've gotten a lot of Jennifer Aniston comparisons, and I don't mind it. I mean, she obviously a very attractive person.
I'm sure it comes up all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
all right.
into
Thank you, Dusty. You're a good dude, and I'm glad you got to see Dana. And
well, I am too. I'm very honored to be here. You guys are great, and I appreciate you.
Well, we think you're great, and it's always fun to talk to someone who's so humble about it. Like, you've already reached your dreams. That's my touchstone. This is how I make a living, doing comedy.
Yeah.
And there's all the rest of it, but this is my job. Like,
this is so great that I get to do this podcast. I never thought I would be doing stuff like this. It's all really great. I've watched you both on TV for many years. It's a real blessing to be here. So I appreciate it. But yeah,
thank you.
I mean, this is this is my job, and this is fun to do. I mean, comedy's a blast.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I just love your attitude, and have fun out there, and theaters can fun, and all the hotels. And I guess you just the end game is how many dates do you do, and how do you pace yourself?
Yeah,
the powers that be would love you to do 300. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a good team, and they seem to be okay, because I got 2 small kids, so they seem to be okay. They don't pressure me to be out too much. So
that's good. So you come and go and pick your spots.
Because I want to, I love to do comedy. I love to be out here doing it. But I also, I like my, I like my family. So
you like your kids?
Just find a balance.
I want to be around them. Yeah.
Yeah. You like your kids.
Yeah.
All right. See you, buddy.
Well, really nice meeting you.
You
Peace
too.
Out.
Take care.
You too. Thank you.
God bless.
This has been a presentation of Odyssey. Please follow, subscribe, leave a like, a review, all the stuff. Smash that button, whatever it is, wherever you get your podcasts. Fly on the Wall is executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Jenna Weiss-Berman of Odyssey, and Heather Santoro. The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman.
Our next guest is a charming, funny young man. Sorry, I thought I started as Johnny.
I like it.
I should do Johnny. Our next guest is a charming, funny young man. Had a lot of success with the television show The Office with Steve Carell. And, of course, The Hangover
Ed, have you
Trio.
seen The Office? Ed, have you seen The Hangover's a little rougher on the edges.
The Office takes place in an office.
Yeah.
It's Ed Helms, everybody.
Yeah. You know the face. He does commercials. He was in the Vacation reboot, I think. I saw that. Funny. He was great on The Office. Obviously, the Hangover movies, you can't escape. They're so funny, and all 3 of them.
Yeah.
With Todd
we talk
Phillips
a lot
at the
about
helm.
that.
We get all the deets and ins and outs of those movies. And really fun guy. Looks young, Dana.
He really looked young, because when you're on
shimmery
on the Zoom, you see your face and you see his face, and you go, "Huh, what's
you go, what
different?"
the fuck is going on? We look pretty young, but he's in better shape. So I'm going to start doing whatever that is.
He's got a later date on his birth certificate, but he is he's charming, likable, and funny, and tells some great stories. And one of the giant waves to go from The Office to the Hangover movie was just like,
my
sort of
God.
being shot out of a rocket ship or whatever they say.
Yeah,
So
that's
he's
what they say.
a funny young man, and he joins us. And I think you're going to enjoy this one, right, Ed?
Yes, enjoying the younger actors. Not that great.
No, it actually was pretty good. I'm laughing because it was actually the right tone.
Very shimmery. Good skin.
All
Here
right.
it is. Ed Helms, guys.
Ed Helms. Ed Helms. Thanks for coming on.
Oh my God.
We love having you.
This is a great privilege for me. I am very excited to be here.
Yeah.
Honored. I would say honored.
Oh, okay. I got up
Only
a little bit.
mildly.
Thank you.
Only mildly.
Only mildly what?
Mildly embarrassed, but
Okay.
mostly honored.
but no mixed feelings. Hopefully.
Yes.
What I read a quote the other day. Someone said about Kamala Harris. It's not about her at all, but just the phrase "up the wazoo." I hadn't seen it. It was in the New York Times. Like, she's got experience up the wazoo. I just put it out there for you guys as a starting off point for the
And to talk about the
I haven't
term,
heard that in a while.
It's gone away for sure.
It feels 1960s to me.
Is it new to you, Dana? Because I've definitely heard it before.
Is it
but I
new
feel
to you,
like-
Dana?
but I do feel like I haven't heard it since
Well,
college.
Ed, David, and Ed. No, I think it's very 60s, with bitching and
Sure.
stuff like that. You guys are younger than me, but we don't have to get into that.
Was there ever a wazoo?
Yeah,
There
what
was
is
a
a
thing. A
wazoo?
wazoo was like, it was a
that's a
little
kazoo.
metal. Oh fuck! I
That's
was one letter off.
Yeah, and
God
one
damn it! Here's my
accent.
research.
But
Ed Helms.
there it is.
I saved these for my book.
Can somebody
Jesus.
Google
Wazoo.
wazoo? I want to
Yeah.
know what.
Heather, see what
maybe
it
it's-
is.
I would assume it's like
Colloquial.
right.
That's what I'm assuming.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the huge ass of an Arctic elk, it says. No, I don't know.
Oh God, you had me. It was such a good. It's
what is
such a
it?
specific.
Person's
Bottom.
anus.
Oh.
That's there you go.
It says it in there. That's got to be slang.
A human anus.
That was a
Yeah,
record.
the sad part is this is part of the podcast. We
Yeah.
are.
Well, we always
okay,
say
good.
anus on the podcast at some point, but that was only
Well,
that
two-
was early.
240
It-
242.
Anus is a very clinical term,
Mhm.
and I do find
And
it.
sexy.
I do find it funny when you mix like a formal doctor setting with like. I have a pain in my wazoo.
Right. When a doctor said to me, I said, I have
Mm-hmm.
a pain down here by my hip flexor. He said, it's here. There's a hip flexor. There's a tendon that goes right next to your nut sack. And I go, well,
Yeah,
let's
nickname
keep it. These
doctor
are
is
all
it's
medical
a funny
terms.
a funny sketch. Your man unit is experiencing difficulties. Yeah, it's Nick. What would it be? Nickname doctor. You would have done it on a segment on Jon Stewart.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
The
look
Daily-
how we got
Daily
into
Show.
that.
The
Look how we
Daily.
got into that.
yeah.
Well, because I remember you reminded me of Will Ferrell in the sense you're running around kind of naked around. You're like you have little bikini briefs on.
No
oh
way.
yeah. That was.
And then you lean down and you go, I got a camera under my ball. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's the blue show, but yeah.
nutsack. Well, let's
Yeah.
call it. Let's use the clinical term. It's a
Yeah.
nutsack.
Good. We've moved on
Um,
from the anus.
And yeah, you're referring to a field segment I did in which
on the
the-
Daily Show.
Point Pleasant, New Jersey had just reversed a decades-long ban on banana hammock type bathing suits
Oh.
or Speedos.
Speedo.
And so they had banned those for men
No.
for decades. They reversed the ban. And so I, of course, went to Point Pleasant, New Jersey and wanted the Speedo point of view. So we put a camera under my
Yeah.
nutsack
Mhm.
and I
Oh
walked
my
the streets.
God. This is television. It sounds like filth.
It is absolute filth. I'm not proud of it.
No.
I'm mad it came up.
Yeah.
Um,
Mad it aired.
Me and my darn research.
I am the
But,
Speedo Bandito. Have you ever worn one in real life?
I was a competitive swimmer in high school. I wore them all the time.
Oh my God.
When you say competitive, let's
Yeah.
like what was your what
Is
was
it
your
really?
stroke? What was your best stroke?
It's my bet. Well, let's talk stroking. I was good at freestyle and butterfly. Those were my strokes. Yeah.
Butterfly's kind of violent. I mean, it's weird.
butterfly-
I don't know. I think it's
both
elegant.
arms.
It's like
Yeah.
a kind of dolphin.
When you can
it's like
do
very
it.
beautiful. It's yeah.
So what was your resting pulse when you were like 17 in the morning? Because I did track and field and intervals and all that stuff.
Dana's into
Really,
pulses and things.
my resting pulse was 34.
You knew your resting pulse in
Is
high
that
school?
good or bad? I don't even know
What
what
was
it
all
should
the
be.
rage? All was your pulse rate. I just, yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know what it is now.
Could you get back to us maybe after the podcast?
I will. I'll check.
Dana's like, I met my wife. We were talking about pulses one day and
Just connected.
just sort of a common interest. Yeah. So you swim. Is freestyle the one where you go one arm, one arm, one arm, one arm?
That's the classic.
That's like the straight ahead basic
Tarzan swim.
Yeah.
Is there a treading water? There's not that, is there?
No, not in. I mean, water polo guys do that.
Do they touch the ground or they don't touch the ground?
No, they don't touch the bottom at all.
Oh, get fucked.
And same with with what do you call it? Synchronized swimming. Like they don't even
shit.
They don't touch
Cross
the bottom at
out
all.
one more Olympic sport I won't be doing.
But you had to have been crazy fit swimming like that.
What's coming to mind? Yeah, I was in good shape. I was in really good shape in high school. And then I stopped.
Yeah, what
You're
happened?
in good shape now. Life's been good to you. I want to meet your dermatologist.
Yeah, you look good,
you.
dude. I don't know
My dermatologist is Zoom. I have the little what is the facial facial smoothing.
Blurry background is a good way to maybe look better or worse because it's so much focus on just
What's
you.
your app? Because I want to get it with the blurred background. You look filmic right now.
I think you have.
I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to give you guys a little tech support on how to look hot. HWT. I want you to go into your camera menu.
I like
in
this.
your. Well, I'm actually.
What's that? Where's
camera? Don't you love how tech support people always say, "All right, do me a favor. Go to your file menu."
I like go to your dashboard. I go in my car.
Yeah.
They go, and you just
do me a favor. Do me a favor. Go
do me a
this.
favor.
Do me a favor.
Here's what we're gonna do.
Do you see what do you see right now?
You mind if I share your screen?
Big blur.
I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah, let me take over your screen. I'm just gonna dip forever. I'm gonna dip into your personal accounts.
If
and your
it's
photos.
okay with you,
just give me complete control over this.
Do you care if I close this window that says bonerlicious.com? And I go, no, go ahead. I don't need that anymore. I'm all straight faced when they talk about porn. I go, no, that's fine.
No. Hold on. Could you just leave that one? Do you need to close it?
What does closing windows do to help? Just leave it. Just push it to the side.
Is it taking up
RAM? You gotta close windows. You gotta close. You gotta close the windows.
Oh yeah, that's Trump. When
Sorry,
he's
I had to throw in a little Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, Trump tech support. That is a good.
You gotta close the windows. We're gonna close
the windows. We're gonna close more windows. They've never seen windows closed like this. This is the window closing. Do me a favor.
Go to your file menu.
JD, get in here. He's young. He's vibrant. Look at the beard and the blue eyes. Get in here.
You don't need.
Hey, Dad.
You don't need a filter. I hate to talk your regular job stuff, but when you do the Daily Show, so do you have to be somewhat political? You just have to be funny, right? They don't. It's just like what happens in politics. They find a spin on it, and then they say maybe this will be funny to do a field piece kind of thing.
Yeah, I would imagine it's comparable to the kind of SNL cultural satire, right?
Yeah.
You're just kind of looking at what's happening and trying to figure out. Usually, so the formula for field pieces, which is what I did the most of, was very simple. It was sort of like find a news item, like for example, that Point Pleasant, New Jersey story, and then just take the dumbest possible stance. or in the case of one I did about a guy who was like, who was trying to, what was he? He was trying to start a straight pride parade in Boston, I think. So obviously he's like a jerk. And then the formula is you just take his side. And then or you just take the wrong side.
Do you ever go with him and say, let's do this? And then he doesn't know he's being clowned or whatever.
Well, yeah. I sat with that guy. We did an interview. There was another guy that was trying to do he was a libertarian, and he started it was ironic, but it was to make a statement. He started a Guns for Tots program, and just to make his libertarian statement, and of course, and it was like giving away free gun toys to children on playgrounds.
It's a tough sell.
So I went.
I had toy guns. Guilty.
Yeah.
I had
mean,
toy guns. I shot every kid on the block.
I had real guns. No, it was but he was so ridiculous. And then a lot of times people, they might even know the Daily Show already, but they think that they can sort of outsmart you.
Yeah.
And so you sit with them, and it was a little, I will say, like, kind of the disingenuous part of it was hard for me, because I grew up in the South. I'm very people pleasy. I just want to like make people comfortable and laugh and have a nice time and a nice hangout. And I'm suddenly in this job where I have to sit across from someone and try to make them squirm or ask like horrible.
That gets me
offensive
itchy.
questions. Yeah. And so there was a little bit of just something that went against my grain somehow. And I kind of forced myself to do it. I did love, it was fun to find those really rare moments of like extreme comedy in those moments of tension. But I think I gravitate more towards just good scripted comedy. Like, the SNL stuff was always, that was just like probably everyone that you interview, that was my dream, was to be on SNL and to have your job. And I just looked up to guys like you, and it was, so that was always, and then the Daily Show became, all right, this feels like something I can do also. And my favorite parts on the Daily Show were actually the scripted segments, the studio chats, like with John, where I'd be like at a green screen, in Baghdad or whatever. And those were really more like sketches.
That's fun because you write them ahead of time. You know where the beats are. You think it's going to kill up front.
Yeah.
And at least you have faith in it. I've done field pieces, and I produced a prank show. That made me so itchy. And then field pieces, my theory, I did some on SNL too, where it's have a wispy idea, go out, shoot 12 and a half hours, and you get a 2.5 minute bit.
Yeah. Yeah. If you
So
shoot enough footage, you're going to get something
you can get an extra laugh out of a fucking reaction shot or something. Just get something, because sometimes you get it and you go, this is a little thin, guys. And then they go, well, let's get in there, and they edit it and they add something, a little music, and you go, okay, not too shabby,
Yeah, true. You're absolutely right. It was those field pieces were built in the edit, and sometimes they fell apart in the edit. There were field pieces I did that just died in the edit room. It was like, there's just no way to save this, which was that's when you walk out like, oh, I'm getting fired today. This is not working out.
Dana, I did one where I went to a plastic surgeon, and we were running out of bits, and I go, let's just go. And then I go, what would you do to me? It's like the dumbest thing, because it got real quick. So he goes, let's just take a quick picture of you. And I go, well, and I started getting a little weird. I go, well, like this is already going sideways on me. Because he goes, oh, there's a lot we could do to you. And I go, okay, this wasn't the way in my head it was going to go. And then he takes one picture and then he goes, hang on. I'm sitting across from his desk. I'm looking at the camera and I'm like, it was funnier the fact that I was sickened by it. Then he turns and he goes, okay, here's the 14 things I would do to you. And 9 of these are like non-negotiable. Like you have to do by noon tomorrow. I'm like, what? He goes, take it all off the nose, take it off your eyes, take it off your hair, take it off your forehead, and we could get you up to an 8. And I'm like, well, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And then I just walk out.
Wait a minute.
I got hit by a car. I'm like, hello,
he
darkness.
Used 8 as a
8 is the maximum?
Yeah. He goes, listen, we're not a fucking miracle workers. He goes,
what did he say? You currently
grand, you can get to an 8 from a 4 or 7. I go, well, who said I was a 4? What numbers are going? Are we polling people? Because I ran it through the zip check on the computer.
Did that air? Can I watch that?
Yeah, I think somewhere.
I think that was from Lights Out. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Showbiz Show.
That's brutal.
It's brutal, dude.
Brutal. Who is this guy?
That guy's mean.
He took it seriously. He goes, oh yeah, like I've been waiting for a guy like you to walk in. He goes, we're gonna fix you right up.
Oh, there's so much you can do.
Oh my god,
you're such.
Tell me you have no budget.
You're a piece of clay. I can mold you.
You're literally like a piece of clay that hasn't been shaped, just a blobby piece of blob. And
I don't know if this is true or not, or if it's a wives' tale that George Burns went in at 96 and got some work done. No, I'm kidding.
all that way. It took us all that way.
I just thought it's a funny idea of even at 96.
He got 5
like-
of his 35 wrinkles removed.
Dude,
And it was
like
hard
when
to
you
tell.
What about when you
Only
see like the
35.
Golden Girls were all like, 31 years old, and you're like, wait, on the show? Like, no wonder people thought 50-year-olds were so horribly old. It's like, Archie Bunker was 36 on that show. I'm like, good
I
God.
know. Do you ever watch old movies and just look up the age of the actors? You can't, right? John Wayne was 47 here. He looks
Yeah.
He looks
wasted.
100.
Yeah. It's
Him
rough.
and Ward Bond doing shots, smoking 100 cigarettes.
It's
a day.
like they put whiskey on their face in the morning. It just
Yeah.
looks like.
I think it was cool. They said John Wayne, when he died, have you ever heard this rumor? They found 55 pounds of dead meat in his colon that had
No, that wasn't that Elvis. It was impacted
No, he had a
fecal
55-pound
matter.
turd.
No, it's
Yeah.
impacted fecal matter is
Different.
the
This was an
actual
unformed
medical
turd. This was cow meat that was still so raw that a good doctor could have brought it back to life.
Well, I know I got a
made some
lot in
fresh
there.
burgers out of it.
Yeah, you could
Wow.
have thrown it on the grill. By the way, the last thing on this was the Daily Show. Do you audition? Do you do a fake field piece, or how do you get
Was that,
on there? Or do
yeah,
they
that was
know
your
you?
first big thing, right?
Yeah, that
Or
was
your
that was definitely my first big thing. I'll give you a little bit of the ramp into it.
Mhm.
I graduated from college, and in the back of my head, I was like, I'm gonna get on SNL. Like that is my. I didn't tell anybody. I was very sort of. I mean, only maybe one or two of my closest friends knew how driven I was on that, and I moved to. But then I was like, well, how do I do that? And I was looking at
Yeah,
Second problem.
I totally agree.
right, but I really was like analytical about it, and I was looking at you guys and others and how they had like the paths, and it became clear. It's like you've got your groundlings sort of pathway through Los Angeles, but then you also had this crop of New York City stand-up comedians like Adam Sandler and even Eddie Murphy and guys like that.
Yeah.
And I just felt like for some reason the stand-up comedy, well, and you, that's your background too, Dana, right? The stand-up.
Yeah, I was a pure stand-up. The Groundlings didn't exist in San Francisco. There was a couple of improv groups, but I didn't know anything about sketch comedy groups, so I did stand-up. So that was what I was like. This feels like what I can do. It's kind of entrepreneurial. I can if I just apply myself, I can work my way up. And that's what I did. I just moved to New York, started doing all the open mics and gradually kind of got some, and I started auditioning for commercials and all that stuff. So wait a minute. Were you terrified? I mean, your first set, I mean, how hard was that leap? Did you do enough theater in high school or college?
Yeah, I did a lot of theater.
Oh.
I did a lot of theater in high school and then a little bit in college, but theater was not what I wanted to do. But I started doing stand-up the summer after my junior year in college. I did my first set at Stand Up New York. And
and what were you like initially? Like, who were you doing characters, voices, setups when you're writing all your stuff? I mean, that does train you to write.
I would say like one of my favorite comedians at the time, and well, it still is Brian Regan. And I just always loved
love him.
Yeah. What a genius. And I just loved his, he would like describe something and then slip into the goofy character in that situation.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of how I would model my bits. Like, I would just sort of set something up and then kind of place myself in it, in like a dumber, goofier.
Like you say, I like when the guy at the gym comes up to you, hey, you using those weights? Just whatever you turn into the guys. Yeah. He's good at that. Yeah.
I had, these are so embarrassing, but I had.
I want to hear them.
I had one of my this was like my closer for a while. Was this long bit about how awkward it must be to be a goldfish, because when they poop, the strand of poop like stays attached to their body for a while they swim around. And so I would do this whole bit of like, what if that, like, then I would be like, imagine that happened to you at a bar, and you like go to the bathroom and you come back and you're like trying to like strike up a conversation, but you have like a string of poop, and it just went on, and it was but it was me in character basically as myself trying to sort of explain away this.
What was the final line of that bit? And then you said, "I'm Ed Helms. Good night."
Yeah.
What was the actual last line?
Well,
so the poo remains attached.
Thank you. Good night. Oh my gosh!
I finally had to say, does anybody have some scissors?
Yeah, something like that.
And then you guys, thanks for coming down to Sir Laughs.
Hey, you guys have been great. You guys have been great.
Well, then I eventually dropped that one, and my next big one was going, like, it was a little story about taking a taxi and then getting out of the taxi and thanking the taxi driver, and then getting on an elevator and going up the elevator, and then I get to my floor and I step off and I turn around and thank the person still standing in the elevator for the elevator ride.
Yeah.
And that was sort of a setup for me to just talk about all of my social awkwardness, which was has always been
a lot of thank yous,
somewhat extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just, and then trying to explain to that person like, oh, I'm sorry, I was in a taxi taking mindset. I hadn't switched over to the elevator taking mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had one where someone's coming at the elevator and says, hold, please. And then you have to fake like you're trying to find the button.
Yeah.
What is going? Everybody had an elevator.
I do that.
bit.
I start
David.
on the ceiling. I go to the ceiling. Oh my God, is it up here? And then they're like, no, on the wall. I'm like, behind me? And they're like, oh, it's closed.
Every comedian did that.
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
Basically, army issue.
Yeah. Or racing to get on the subway, and you get it. This was I did this one for years. You race down the stairs and sprint down the platform, and you get on the train and you're like, and then the doors don't close for 5 minutes. And you're just standing there panting, having to explain, like, I'm sorry, I thought the doors were going to close. That's why I ran.
Yeah.
Why am I walking you through all of my the lowest point in my comedy?
Well, you're not using this anymore, and we're always in the hunt for a bit that's laying around.
You know what, Dana? You can have it. You can have it. You could have this.
People get me bits. You know what you should say? This guy at this work says this, tells me a joke everyone knows. You can have it. You can have this one. That's yours.
I tried to give this to someone recently. An elevator bit. On the elevator with a guy or woman, whatever. They get off and they go, "See you later." Should I be worried? What do you mean, see you later? Did I take a ride with Dexter? Come on.
Christ sakes.
Who is this guy?
So you have a big resume. I don't know where to go, but Daily Show. So stand up. You got good, and they saw you.
Well, I got into the sort of Comedy Central at the time. There were so many stand-ups doing like this premium blend show and all kinds. They were just they were sticking stand-ups everywhere, and I kind of got on the radar, and then the Daily Show, which at that point I was watching religiously because I had really fallen in love with the show, and I was feeling like I think I can do that. I was sort of studying it. And then kind of out of nowhere, I get this, they had this huge cattle call, and I go, and I'm really inexplicably arrogant. Like, I really felt like I had done the homework, which is rare for me because I'm not good at preparing for things, but I just felt like I'd been working on my SNL audition. I had like a little stable of characters or whatever. But then at the same time, I was like really studying Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell and those guys. And a friend of mine had auditioned maybe like a year before and hadn't gotten it. And I was like, yeah, like, of course you didn't get it because you didn't do the 5 things that they all do. How do you not know that? How did you? So I was just kind of a nerd about it. And I got out of the few hundred cattle call people, I was one of 5 or 6 callbacks, and that was a sit down. That was a segment in the studio with John. So they give you a script. Now, ordinarily, again, I would be terrified, but they give me the script, and it was a script that Colbert had just done on the show like 2 weeks before. And I knew exactly how he did it and all of the tricks and stuff and the kind of like newscaster cadence. And which I learned from your Tom Brokaw, Dana.
One of my earliest bits was going back to that for a second, newscaster ordering dinner with his wife. And a surprise coming on my wife today. She'll have her steak medium rare and a cup of black coffee instead of the traditional cream and sugar. So it is a funny cadence. And you had it.
Yeah, it's like a weird, people don't realize that. And you see it in movies a lot when actors play newscasters. They don't get it right. Because it's totally its own thing.
Yeah.
But Colbert and Carell at the time and others, Mo Rocca, Vance DeGeneres, those guys were crushing it on the show.
Vance DeGeneres.
And,
crushing. By the way, I just want to ask you, what was it like when you met Carell and Colbert?
I was so nervous. That wasn't until I actually got cast, but it's so funny thinking back on it. It was a basic cable Comedy Central show. Like it wasn't, and it became more of a phenomenon, but it really wasn't that big a deal in the world. But to me, it was my whole world. I was so excited, and I had to like pretend not to be excited and nervous, because that's like that when you're too excited or nervous in a comedy setting, everyone's like, get out of here. Like you're totally ruining the vibe.
Gross.
It's just hard. Try not to try to be confident, not cocky. They're all in this clique and they have all their one-liners, and you're the new guy. That's always hard.
Try not to try. That is literally advice I got the first week with a segment producer that I was working with. She was like, you're a little too eager. You're too excited to be here.
And that was Joe Biden was the segment producer. You're too eager. Guess what? The fact of the matter is, you're too eager.
Yeah.
No, that happened. So I just assumed those guys, because I gave them a job a few years earlier and I auditioned them and became friends with them.
Oh,
and
of course. Yeah.
They're not normal show business guys. I mean, they've been married for a half century.
Right.
They're so Midwestern. That I just wondered how they would be. They're kind of like on the show and they're becoming stars, and you're the new guy coming in. I assume they were incredibly kind. I hope so.
So great. And Carell and I only overlapped for a few months before he left to do, I think, Watching Ellie or he got his own sitcom. And then of course,
Watching Ellie.
He really blew up on Bruce Almighty, which came out like a little while later. But or Evan Almighty, I guess, or Bruce.
Evan Almighty.
The first one, no, Bruce was the one where he was the newscaster that was like gibberish talking, and
that was the Jim Carrey one.
Yeah, the Jim Carrey one is where he really popped. Yeah, because he was so funny,
so funny. And then he finds his way to The Office. I don't want to leap ahead, but then you both end up on The Daily Show, and you both end up on The Office.
Yeah,
it's one of those things.
Yeah, I've had a front row seat to Carell for many decades.
Has he changed? Has he ever gotten slightly cocky?
The worst. He started out the worst. He stayed the worst. No, truly the best. Like gentleman and kind, and never. I mean, I will get to the Office stuff. I have a lot to say about that. But
people will want to hear from you on that.
But I forget where I was, somewhere. Oh, so I get the audition and I go in for this segment with John, and I knew how to do it. And again, I was like weirdly kind of self-assured. I'm a generally kind of anxious person, so it was one of those rare moments where I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. And that's such a rare, beautiful gift of a feeling when we get it, which I feel like is probably rare for everyone. But the audition went really well. And then they basically said, okay, so we're going to hire you and your buddy, Rob Corddry, who I had come up through like improv. He was more from the improv comedy space in New York, but I had also been doing a lot of improv because that was where Conan O'Brien was pulling cast for his sketches on his show. And so I'd gotten kind of into that world and with the Upright Citizens Brigade. But anyway, Rob and I get hired, and we don't get hired. They say, we're going to give you guys segments to do, and we're going to see how you do.
Try out.
Yeah. So essentially it was like a full blown TV segment, but as a tryout. And so that was my first one. And that was the one where the field producer, who was so great, she was like, I felt like she was on my side. Like she wanted me to do well, which is kind of rare in show business. And she was the one who, like, a couple of days in, she's like, look, this is going great. We're going to have a lot of fun when we go shoot this thing, because you do like 2 weeks of prep work for one of those. She's like, and we're doing meetings with John and the writers and whatever. She's like, this is going great. And you're trying a little too hard. You're too happy to be here. And then, so I tried to
like
sort of
this
like
woman.
She was so great. And I tried to swallow my eagerness a little bit and act cool, even though I felt out of my mind. I was so excited to be there. And it worked. The segment went really, really well. And John really liked it. And then I pitched another segment. My second segment was probably the one that clinched it for me. And that was kind of like your plastic surgery bit, David. It was it was called Touched by a Scalpel. And it was right after Katie Couric had gotten a colonoscopy on camera for the Today Show.
Right. Yes.
And so we were sort of like satirizing like the dramatization of medical, news people going into medical situations and then making a story out of it, kind of like exploiting themselves. And I had a mole removed from my nostril, and we made this huge dramatic segment about it. And it was the most inconsequential thing, but it was very, very fun and silly and went really well. And then that's when it locked up.
Right. And then at some point, I don't know when it happens, you're out there with John. It's a year later or something, and the crowd goes crazy when they see you. I mean, is that
when you finally come?
It's a heady thing. That idea of success on television and people being just happy, especially comedians. If you make someone laugh, it's sticky.
Yeah, you're so right, Dana. It's like when you feel that, when you feel like the audience knows you and actually has like you're starting off ahead of the starting line because the audience is already warm to what you do. That took a while, but then also weirdly, and I don't know what how your SNL experiences were. Specifically, I've lots of friends who've, been cast members, but it really, after that initial sort of like ramp up, like you're saying, of maybe 5-6 months of just like pure excitement and bliss, like then the sort of like sine wave kicked in of like anxiety and that segment went terrible, or John didn't laugh at that joke or whatever, and then you're sort of like I don't know. I started to kind of just poison myself a little bit with negative thoughts, and then you do something great, and you're back on top, and then you're just sort of riding this.
It's SNL, same thing.
Yeah,
SNL. Because you have great shows where it really works, and it's very rare. And then you have shows that are just okay, And yeah, it's hard not to kind of go. But on SNL, yeah, you just same thing. You got the next show.
Yeah.
Usually, unless
Yeah.
it's the finale. This is the end of the season. It would be like really, really good if it was like a good show, as opposed to a
Give it your
bad
all,
show.
Dana.
We love Lauren.
Yeah.
We like good shows. Yeah, there was one. I did a field segment, I remember, and we get back to the edit and we're working on it, and John would always come in for a screening or two and give notes, and he comes in and gives a screening and he's like, "Ooh, I don't know, guys. I don't know if this one's gonna work." And he's like, "Give it another day, and then let's see how it goes." And so we keep working on it. We're like rewriting all the voiceovers and whatever, trying to chop it up. And John comes in the next day. He's like, "Okay, all right, let's work on this some more. This is getting somewhere." And then he digs in with us, and he's spending time in there, which was very unusual in the field segments. Usually he would just give notes, but like he's in there with us, and I'm like, "Is this good or bad? Like, is it good that he's here, or is he like trying to resuscitate?"
Right, it could go either way.
And then a day or two goes by, and it's been in the edit way too long at this point, but it's undeniably good by the end of it. So it's like, okay, it's going to air. Thank God. Okay. And it plays that night on the show, gets a huge reaction from the audience. And I said to John after the show, I was like, that went really, really well. Kind of like, can you believe it went so great after such a tough process? And his response was something like, "Well, yeah, I mean, you can make anything good if you work hard enough on it." And it was kind of like, it was basically saying like, we kind of had to like waste a lot of time polishing your turd. That's how
you interpret it. That's a backhanded compliment.
But it was I think it was a genuine way of saying like, do better. Like you gotta deliver. Like you can slave over something and really like
put all hands on deck.
And that'll get it passable. But like let's get it.
You can't burn that much time and man hours. Yeah. You're supposed to be better. It shouldn't get to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now you're successful. And how did you find your way to The Office? Another smash.
So
the smash, I suppose, of the last quarter century or something. It's a phenomenon.
Well, so of course I knew Steve, and I actually had a bit part in Evan Almighty, which was really fun. Okay. And he had started working on The Office at that point. And I remember when they cast Steve as the Ricky Gervais character, I just remember thinking like, he is going to crush this. He's like so perfect for that.
Yes.
Because like he brought this kind of like affable obliviousness to his Daily Show pieces. And I just knew it would be so good as
awkward, clueless guy.
Weirdly arrogant in ways.
But still likable. He had it was a perfect match of a part to a performer.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And I sensed that even before the show started. And then of course it was so good. And then it became another show that I watched religiously, in kind of a studious way, also as a fan. And I actually auditioned for it. So when NBC was casting the original cast, I think I read for Jim or Dwight. I can't remember who, but I went into 30 Rock for a casting session, and obviously didn't get the part. Wasn't devastated because I loved my job at the Daily Show. But then a year or two goes by, and I loved the fake documentary format, and I worked with a friend on a short that was basically a short documentary about a zombie trying to like get his life together and get out and then like start dating more. And he was just complaining about the sort of like difficulties of being a zombie and all the assumptions that people make about zombies. And so it was a lot of like, it was very Office style, like talking to the camera mixed with like B-roll. And and little bits. And we paid for like really good zombie makeup, so it was just very, very silly. And somehow that got into Greg Daniels' hands. Greg being the
Greg Daniels. Yeah.
yeah, creator showrunner of the
Mhm.
American Office, and I got asked to pop in for a chat with Greg, and that's when they told me, "Hey, we've been thinking about this character. He's like a Connecticut yacht club kid, and he's kind of an idiot, and we think it could be really fun. What do you think?" And I just started kind of like pitching on it a little bit, and it could be like this and this, and we just had a really fun chat about
Mhm.
what this Andy Bernard would eventually become.
Mhm.
And then it kind of felt similar to the Daily Show, because there was this sense of like the story's going to split and they're going to take Jim to the Stamford branch, and we're just going to try out these people.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't work, we're just going to float Jim right back to Scranton. And so
Yeah.
it was a very uncertain casting. It wasn't like
Mhm.
join the cast of The Office. It was more like, come on, let's see how it goes.
Mhm.
And so that was
Just like the Daily Show.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it put Rashida and me in this funny little crucible together. And I think we really bonded at that time, because it was so uncertain feeling and like, what's
Mhm.
going on? But it was so fun. And again, it was one of those rare moments where I just felt like, oh, this Andy Bernard character, I get him. I get why he's a doofus. I get why this is
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
fun and funny. And
What's
and
the vibe like on there? Is it
the
stressful? Are you
the Office set.
finishing your thought? I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, is it like run and gun? I mean, it's probably pretty thought out, but is it stressful? We got to get our days. There's some shows that are tougher than they look, you know.
Yes. And I would say it was long, very long hours, early mornings, and then kind of late evenings a lot. But it was such a cohesive group, and there was very little, if any, drama. The writers were it was a few people from SNL, like Mike Schur had come on board, and of course Greg Daniels' origin was SNL,
Yeah, of
but
course. Great.
it just it felt I didn't I would say the vibe was exceptionally good. It was an exceptionally good group of people that was enjoying each other, making each other laugh. The writing was everyone believed in the writing and
Yeah.
believed in the show, and that takes you so far. I think if
Yeah.
you're getting scripts where you're disappointed or even a little apprehensive about doing something or whatever, that's when tension and like interpersonal conflict can start to creep in to a whole show dynamic. But really the shows were so good, like the scripts were so good, and the cast was so funny. Everyone made each other laugh. And what I was going to say about Steve, we were starting to talk about Steve a little bit before. The thing I think that that made it work so well for so long is that Steve understood, and in a lot of ways, I think sort of passively taught all of us. He understood what it meant to lead a cast, and he understood that. And I don't even know if he thought about this or if it was just sort of his natural instinct, but he was always on time, and he always knew his lines, and he never ever complained. He would get exasperated here and there, you could tell, but he was never like complaining about the process or the people.
Yeah.
And when the top dog on a set is behaving that way, it makes it impossible for anyone under that person to behave in any
Too
other
squeaky,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, because then it's like, well, Steve's not complaining. Steve has more lines than anybody. He's in more scenes than anybody. He has to work harder than any of us, and he's not complaining. So like, why would you complain? And I think we all kind of internalized that, again, not I wasn't even aware of it at the time. It just was sort of like, oh, this is how we are on this set. We show up and we are there for each other.
I don't think Steve's capable of that, being a Midwesterner, but it's also like he was passed over for SNL, and if you make it at 23, it's easier to develop being a little bit spoiled. But if you know that you have a job, and never losing gratitude over that, you know, and I think Steve would be incapable of that. But I just loved, it was such a breath of fresh air in America, just the way everyone was alive in the frame all the time, just with little glances and stuff. Just the way it was shot, it just made it just so real, as opposed to brilliant sitcoms where there's laugh tracks and all that. So stating the obvious there, but the thing that's interesting now is how big it's become since it went off, and it's on Netflix. It's just huge.
I agree. It took on a life of its own even after the show ended. And I still have little kids come up to me that are so excited about The Office. I'm like, you weren't even born when the show ended.
Yeah.
And and it's still resonating for you. And I think it's a testament to the commitment of the writers and the cast and the vibe. Like this vibe that I'm talking about that everyone felt on set made it somehow through the screen. And I think people feel the warmth of it, and they feel.
And you also know you're working on a show that works. It's like a hit. Like that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And it's growing. So anyway, it was because we don't have all day, but we have a lot of time, just because you go from that, you get to The Office. I know there's all this stuff happening. And then all of a sudden, and you've done a lot of other things, but The Hangover happens.
Yeah.
The movie, The Hangover, one of the biggest comedy hits of all time. And so what are you feeling at that point, and how did that come about? Because that thing was great. I look at those comedies just in context. I look at Tropic Thunder. The one question I wanted to ask you, and then Hangover. Is there anything in The Hangover that couldn't be made today?
Oh, I think
a
so.
lot of things.
The ending credits.
I haven't watched it in quite a few years, but my gut feeling is that a lot of it.
I just assume
probably a little tricky tonally. But
well, Todd Phillips, the director, kind of stopped doing comedy and went and did The Joker. He felt there were too many rules because of, whatever the culture had shifted. But that movie, it was just like Tropic Thunder. I think the year before when I went and saw it, it caught me off guard in a great way. I really laughed my ass off at that movie. First blush.
Good title, R-rated. Everybody's good in it. Well,
such a clean concept.
Yeah.
I think by the way, it's making my year that you're saying that. That really, really means a lot.
About what?
that you liked the movie, a movie that I was in. I really appreciate that.
Well, Bradley Cooper and Zach and you, the three of you guys, it was 3 different notes. It was it's a perfect casting. You guys were all, but it just had a lively pop to it that you can't,
I also think it was a little, the plot of that movie is kind of a magic trick, because I was in a hotel lobby maybe a month or week or two after it came out. And there was a group of old ladies, like literally grandmothers, sitting around talking about bits from the movie and how funny it was. And I remember thinking, okay, this, and then of course you had like all the frat boys that love it. So the movie did this thing where like the guys, the characters are behaving horribly in a way that like is very aspirational for like young men to be like party animals, right? And they are party animals, and that appeals to like young people. But then the next morning they're mortified by their own behavior. So that's what makes it redemptive to the older set, who are like, oh, these sweet boys got themselves in a pickle. And it kind of like
should have been called the pickle.
The pickle. You're right. Damn it. But it did. I've always thought that plot was very special because it was able to appeal. There were parts of the story that connected to so many people.
Yes. It's just such a funny device that they're basically blackout drunk, and then they're figuring out all this stuff going backwards. And
It's such an open way to
feeling
just do
very
anything.
human about it. What?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, And you guys that was Tyson, right? Punching the
Was that the first one, second one? Do you remember?
Tyson was in the first one,
and the second.
and the second one.
Yeah.
He's in the end of the second one. Yeah. Second one's where I get his tattoo.
But
Oh,
getting
that's right.
Tyson and using Tyson, and how Tyson has become now with hot boxing podcasts, and how he's become this cultural figure that everybody loves. It was just, the movie was paced in a way that all of a sudden you're seeing a Tiger and Tyson. Like it's just, just like it moves on such a great pace. It just never let up.
You still talk to the Tiger?
Yeah, it was so good. I got in there and I didn't want to punch the tiger. He told me, you said you got to punch the tiger. I said, I don't want to punch the tiger because I got tigers.
Sorry.
Can I tell you something? It is terrifying working with tigers. Have you ever
No way.
worked with a tiger? It's I don't
With,
want to do
with
it
their
again.
real indigenous teeth and
There's
claws.
something. So the first
And a
night we worked
sketchy
with the
trainer
tigers,
telling you to
that's
relax.
the thing. The basically the tigers are sort of only restrained by the illusion of restraint. Like the tiger believes that their cord is strong enough, but actually they could break it if they got really freaked out or break.
They said the tiger believes, is that what it is? The tiger thing. The tiger believes it can't break the cord, but it probably could.
Yeah, it's something like that. Well, I don't know. We're just looking at these leaches and like that is not
too strong.
sufficient. Like that is not.
No.
And then the first night that we worked with the tiger, it was at the Tyson Mansion set, which was out in Chatsworth, I think, and the tigers were on this truck and in these big cages, like on a big flatbed in these big cages, and as dusk set in, because it was a night shoot, and so dusk is setting in and the wind is whipping up and there's all these trees and tall grass, like, just like kind of billowing in the wind. And the tigers are growling in their cage, like back and forth, pacing, getting really anxious and antsy. And we're like, what's going on? And the trainer's like, oh, they're nocturnal. They're night hunters. So they're getting keyed up. They're getting keyed up
For someone to kill.
So what is it? So they're night hunters, and we're
Then they're
just
like
gonna
5 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna start with a night shoot, and they give you this whole like safety lecture about how to don't turn your back on the tiger because if they see your back, they think you're fleeing.
Then they want to
and
attack.
That's what makes them want to attack.
You'll never get bit. If you
rules.
do, put pressure on it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Or point at the tiger and yell, stop. Because that's
Yeah.
what we were told to do with dogs that would chase us when we were running. Get eye contact and yell, stop. But that would be terrifying with a tiger.
And then, of course, Bradley, that later on, we're doing the some of those photos for the ending credits.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Bradley's like, "Can I feed it?" And they're like,
No,
"Sure."
boy.
They give him a giant milk bottle, and he's just standing there. I think it's one of the pictures in the credits where
That's
he's
funny.
like actually feeding. And I was like, Bradley, what the hell? But
I love big movies that have budgets where I guess it was Todd Phillips. There's someone in a room writing Mansion, Tyson punches Tiger, and then
Mhm.
and then it appears.
And it works
Okay.
out perfectly.
And it works out
There's no-
perfectly. It's like
It's probably hard to do all that stuff. By the way, night shoots are tough anyway.
ugh. Oh yeah,
Just
Thank
for
you.
anything. And then when I
Mhm.
see a movie, when I write them with my buddies, we always go, the final draft is like, let's go through and eliminate anything that could be day. Because sometimes you just put it in there and you realize you don't need it. Or you shoot it inside and they darken the windows, because flipping a whole movie to night and you do splits, then you're like, it throws everything off. And so most people are sane enough to try to avoid night shoots.
What's
Yeah.
your longest day on a set, you think, Ed, where you get
Oh my
there
God.
at
All right,
5,
so
hours?
this is
Yeah.
this is nuts. So I was shooting The Office at the same time as The Hangover.
Oh, no.
And they had both been incredibly accommodating. So the Hangover said, we're going to make our work week Wednesday to Sunday. and the office said, we're going to crossboard you, meaning they're going to condense all my scenes into Monday and Tuesdays of an office production week. So there was one night where we did a night shoot in Las Vegas on a Sunday night, and I had to be on set for the office at like 6:30 the next morning. But we're shooting until 4:30. And I couldn't tell each production exactly what was going on because they were freaked out. Yeah. So I, on my own dime, I chartered a little jet from Las Vegas to Van Nuys Airport, which was 10 minutes from the office stages.
Okay.
And I wrap on The Hangover at like 4:30 or 5 in the morning, race to the airport in Las Vegas, jump in this little jet that was the size of a Honda Civic, and
Lear 25, probably.
I don't know what tiny little thing.
Yeah.
And I land in Van Nuys. I sleep maybe 15 minutes on this plane, and land in Van Nuys, go straight to my trailer on the office stages, get changed, and start shooting and have a full day. And of course, they've crossboarded me, so it's all me. I'm shooting every scene that day. And the craziest part about that day, and there were actually a couple of days that kind of were like that. But the craziest thing about that is that at the end of that office production day, Ben Stiller had asked me to do this little. He was like, had some big benefit, and he wanted me to be in a comedy sketch that he was doing.
Stiller always.
I had agreed to it like a month before.
Oh, yeah.
And so it had squeezed in right at the end of that office production day. And I think I was on like my 7th or 8th Red Bull by the time I got to that. And I shot that thing, and it went fine, and then just zonked out. And I will say, as crazy as that was, and that was basically a month of like very intense insanity, flying back and forth from Vegas and like long days on both productions. It was also like one of the happiest months of my life. I loved every minute of it. The production of The Hangover was one of the most fun things I could ever have hoped to be a part of in this business. It was so collaborative. It was so none of us were, stars really at the time. And so everyone was just kind of like humble and eager to make something great. And it was a similar ethos to The Office, where like me, Zach, and Bradley actually were almost competitive about like being on time and like being professional and kind of showing up for Todd, because Todd is he's like a very obviously fun and hilarious director, but he's very professional. Like it's a grown up set. It's not like it's good. Not like other comedy movies I've been on where it's just kind of like feels like a party. But we loved it. I think all three of us just were so psyched to show up and do the work and find the jokes. We would take these breaks and just step aside. Todd would be like, "What's wrong with this? Like, why isn't this funny enough?" And we would all just figure it out. I remember.
Wow, he's now my favorite director. Just saying that, going to the actual performers and going, "Hey guys, what do you think?"
Three funny guys. You're like,
but I just want to say here for people listening is that when you're in stuff you know's not working and you're trapped in it, whether it's a bad TV show or a movie or whatever, that is very exhausting. So your hours are insane, but you're in two spectacular things that are memorable to this day. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did not realize that was happening at the same time.
Well, I had my tooth removed. So I have an implanted tooth here that I've had since high school. And my dentist was able to take the crown off of it for The Hangover.
Jesus.
But then I had to have a flipper that had a fake tooth on it to go to set on The Office.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that it did affect my speech a tiny bit. If you really pay close attention, you could tell. But it was just one of like so many hilarious details about that time. It's crazy.
It's an
Well,
amazing
amazing
run.
trifecta of 3 of those on top of everything else you did.
We should mention before we let you get back to
Yeah.
your magnificent life. Besides looking 36,
Yeah.
you have a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool called Snafu. Tell our audience about it.
Well, thank you so much for asking about it,
Of
Dana.
course.
I
Well,
love
we're gonna
the
mention
idea of it, and I
intros.
wanted, after you tell us what it's about, it's like the history that's happening right now in America in a apolitical sense. You got ears
Yeah.
coming off, you got people resigning and stumbling.
Yeah.
And so to your podcast, you're actually, go ahead.
Yes. Well, so it's called Snafu, and the premise is it's kind of a documentary history podcast, and the log line is it's about history's greatest screw ups, and it's just a really fun kind of cheeky look back at some moments in history where shit just went really sideways, and each season this is season 2 just came out. It's iHeartRadio or iHeart podcast,
Mhm.
and along with Film Nation and Gilded Audio. It's a
And
great
your
team
production
of
company
companies.
name, which
Oh,
I
Oh
like.
yeah, Pacific Electric Picture Company is my company,
Yeah.
and we all
Video? Is
collaborated
it video or audio?
on it. Pictures.
No, the podcast is audio.
Oh,
right?
the podcast is audio only, but it's season 1 was a look back at this crazy event in 1983 called Able Archer, where NATO had this giant military exercise where they're moving troops and navies all over the planet, and the Soviet Union looked at that and was like, "Hold on, guys, are you staging to invade us?"
Is this
And-
practice for the invasion?
Like
Yeah.
NATO said it was just an exercise, but the Soviet Union thought it was real staging for an invasion. And so they ramped up their nuclear posture. And then of course the US clocked that, and our posture ramped up. And a lot of historians believe it's the closest we came to a nuclear holocaust. And all of this was completely under the radar, not known to the public at all until just a few years ago. And it's an insane story, especially when you kind of look at the template of what Ronald Reagan and other politicians were saying at the time, and then now knowing what was going on underneath it. It's a wild story. That was season 1. Season 2 of Snafu just came out. I'm so proud of it. It's this is like the ultimate mashup of my nerdy love of history, and then of course my love of storytelling. Season 2 is the story of Medburg, which is a cute abbreviation for media burglary, and it is the town of Media, Pennsylvania, where a group of activists, anti-war activists in 1971, Vietnam War going on. It's a crazy, like tumultuous time in America, and these activists felt like the FBI was getting a little bit shady and starting to intimidate or harass people. And so they were like, how do we prove this? And so just these citizen activists pulled off this insane heist where they break into an FBI office in Pennsylvania, steal files, and then they start to leak them to this very courageous reporter, Betty Metzger, at the Washington Post, and she starts to publish them. And that was the beginning of J. Edgar Hoover's sort of like exposure as a very dark figure.
How many years was he in the head of the FBI? I mean, he had files, and
my God,
he could have blackmailed everybody.
Yeah, he did. He flagrantly blackmailed lots of people, but even worse than that, he was harassing like so many civil rights activists. Martin Luther King was getting relentless harassment from the FBI. And then, of course, the anti-war activists were also getting harassed and at times blackmailed. They would write these poison pen letters. There's a famous one that they wrote to Martin Luther King that's just like basically telling him he should kill himself. But it's anonymous, right? It's like, what? But that came from the FBI. And then, of course, COINTELPRO was revealed, which was this which stands for Counterintelligence Program, and that was a program that under which the FBI was officially harassing and really like abusing its power and surveilling so much like illegal surveillance of law-abiding citizens, which is terrifying and should terrify all of us.
I don't like that. Would season 3 potentially be the Trump assassination attempt? I mean, because that's like, what?
Yeah, I don't.
But no, you have a large
actually,
part.
season 3 is in the works already. We have season 3 in the works. It's an exciting one. I'll talk about that next time I'm on the show.
Later,
I was told by your producer that it's about David and I starting this podcast. It's an actual documentary.
It's season 3 and 4.
This is all deep cover. Me, doing research.
I love history as well, and things like that where we don't know which went on behind the scenes. It's just fascinating. So anyway, Snafu. Ed Helm.
Snafu.
Well, thank you, Ed.
Check it out.
It's actually a blast talking to you,
guys.
Yeah, very interesting.
I want to do this in reverse and just talk through your entire careers because
well, we've been doing it. We talk about ourselves so much.
I know.
It's sort of
I've
sickening.
listened. It's fun. It's fun.
And
to
just
listen
because
to.
as a bookmark, we kind of did get to, but you did host SNL on May 11th, 2013, and in which during the monologue you were in a spandex unitard and you twirled a baton. So that's never been done before.
I'm very proud of that. I don't think that. That was a wonderful, wonderful night, and really like the. I just remember feeling that was the realization of that dream that I'd always had.
Oh, that's right.
To be on SNL, even as my dream was to be a cast member, but then of course to host was like.
The second best dream is to be big enough to be a host of SNL, right. Where the cast is kind of like, "Hi, Mr. Helms.
They work for you." Yeah.
I have an idea where you and I are postmen. And anyway, but what a story. What an incredible journey you've had. My God. It's amazing.
I'm just getting started.
Yeah, you're just getting
Hey, believe
started.
me, where I'm up on the ladder, you are just getting started. You know, don't overage yourself. You know, people go, well, I'm this age. It's kind of, no, don't do that. You have to just not go gently into that good night. You just keep going.
Keep going till they stop you.
Keep going till you get enough.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's really, I'm really, really glad to be here with you guys. This means a lot.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
Good
to see you. Good luck with the podcast. This has been a presentation of Odyssey. Please follow, subscribe, leave a like, a review, all the stuff. Smash that button, whatever it is, wherever you get your podcasts. Fly on the Wall is executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Jenna Weiss Berman of Odyssey, and Heather Santoro. The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman.